Welcome to Northern Survival, your home for all things survival and preparedness. Today on Northern Survival, we'll be disassembling and reassembling the SKS. The SKS is a gas-operated semi-auto. This rifle was produced over a long period of time by many different manufacturers. This rifle is a 1953 Yeshkev. This was only produced for 2 years from 53 to 54. The SKS came chambered in 7.62 by 3.9. This is an intermediate cartridge with an effective range of 400 yards. The availability of 7.62 by 3.9 in surplus makes it a prepper favorite. The SKS has a fixed magazine, which can be fed through the top with stripper clips. The stripper clips hold 10 rounds and can easily be fed into the gun by lining up this top notch and then simply shoving them in. The fixed magazine on this rifle is pinned at 5, as per Canadian law. The safety on this firearm is easy to work. You simply flip it up for safe and down for fire. This is an extremely natural feeling safety to use. All SKSs come with this adjustable iron sight. Anyone with an AK is going to recognize this. It's adjustable from 1 to 1,000 yards. Which is pretty optimistic. My SKS is extremely consistent at 300 yards. So let's get into the disassembly. First thing we're going to do is lock the bolt back and make sure that the chamber is clear. We're going to have a look down inside the magazine and open that up. Next we're going to look in the feed path, make sure there's nothing, and reassure that the chamber is clear. After sliding the bolt into the closed position, we're going to go ahead and remove this dust cover. My pin pops up pretty easy, but you might have to fight with yours a little bit. Putting slight pressure on the dust cover, pull this pin up until you hear an affirmative click. Once we remove the dust cover, we're going to go ahead and grab the spring, pull that straight back. Next, we're going to remove the bolt and carrier. These are two different pieces but can be removed as one, simply by sliding straight back and keeping it tight. Before we go ahead and set these aside, we're going to inspect the firing pin. Make sure that this pin moves up and down freely, that there's no damage or excessive wear. This is also a good time to have a look at your extractors, which are these lips just above the pin. Next order of business is to remove the trigger assembly and fixed magazine. This can be done with a round of 7.62 by 3.9, though I prefer to do it with this tool that I have that fits in my palm nicely. You can put good pressure on it. You're just going to press this pin into place until the spring underneath pops it loose. Then it just slides up, wiggles back, and comes out. The fixed magazine is going to be the next piece to come out. These are super easy to get. Simply grab onto them, wiggle, and lift up. We're just going to sit this to the side. The next thing we're going to want to do is remove the gas tube assembly. In order to accomplish this, we're going to have to release the pressure from off the top of the tube. That's held in by this pin. Go ahead, lift this tab. Then you're going to want to slide the tab till the bottom recess reaches the top of the channel. Once you've moved this up, you'll be able to see through the top that the retaining pin has moved to the side. This allows you to pull up and out on the gas tube. Simply pull up, but not too hard. Once it's free, you want to pull straight back. I've seen a lot of SKSs with the gas tubes that rattle on them, and it's super annoying. Once we have this gas tube assembly free, we're simply going to take it and let the piston slide out. If your rifle's fairly clean, this should be easy to get out. My SKS is equipped with a blade style bayonet. In order to accomplish the next step, we're going to need to extend it. So simply pull back on this till that notch reaches. Swing it around to the front and shove it into position. The final step in disassembly is going to be to roll the rifle over and lift the stock up and off. This should be pretty easy to do. Once we have the rifle completely disassembled, this is your chance to have a good look at everything, brush it up, clean it up, and oil it up. I'm not going to be taking you through those steps today. This is simply a disassembly and reassembly video. We're going to begin the reassembly by replacing the stock. Simply flip the rifle upside down once again, slide the top into place, and then push down on the top until it goes all the way in and sits flat. I like to flip the rifle over and make sure these are all sitting flush. Next, we're going to reinstall the fixed magazine. On the front of it, there's a slight angle, which you'll slide down into position. This should be pretty easy and should just drop in. Once the fixed magazine is in the proper position, we're going to reinstall the trigger assembly. The front side of the trigger assembly simply slides underneath of the fixed magazine and lock into position underneath of the magazine. Just like everything else, this should be fairly easy to do. Next, we're going to squeeze the trigger assembly until it clicks. Hold up and squeeze down. Once this pin pops up, your trigger assembly is reassembled. Next, we're going to reinstall the piston back into the gas tube assembly. Simply slide it in until it's all the way in. Next, we're going to reinstall the gas tube assembly. This is going to install the exact opposite of how it came off. We're going to want to seat the front and then make sure our piston is all the way in. Once the piston's all the way in, we're going to roll the rifle over and line up the top. It should just click down into position and lock with this tab. You can see how the angle's lifted up, and then we're going to roll this tab downwards until it locks it into position. Now your gas tube is fully reassembled. Next thing we're going to do is reinstall the bolt. This is also another super easy step. We're simply going to line up these notches until the bolt rides inside the carrier, just like this. Next, we're going to slide the bolt and carrier in and forwards. There's slots on the side that have to be lined up. So make sure you line up the edges on both ends, and then you should just be able to slide the bolt forwards and in. Once the bolt and carrier are fully forward, we're going to reinstall the spring. The plunger on the one end of the spring is going to sit in a recess in the back of the bolt carrier. So simply line those two up like this and slide the spring all the way forwards. It should just sit in there without you having to hold it. The easiest way I've found to put the dust cover on is to line up both ends like this. Make sure your pin is all the way out. Simply slide this forward and then roll your gun over till the pin drops in. Once the pin's in place, simply push the tab down till it clicks and you're reinstalled. And that finishes the assembly. Next, we're just going to make sure that the action locks back and comes forward when we push down on the spring for the clip. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to help me build my channel. This is Northern Survival, urging you to pray for peace, but prepare for war.